Hey there, this is Eric with Fluid Dynamics, and I wanted to cut a short video for you today that I'm going to title the #1 home water treatment myth, and we're going to see if we can't bust this myth if you've ever seen Mythbusters. This is kind of a little exaggerated statement, but here's the myth. Well, my home uses a lot of water, and I need the 1.5-inch water main that delivers the water into my home. Bigger is better and required. And my family will suffer, my plants will die, and my fish will dehydrate if I were ever to downsize that water main or install any piece of water treatment equipment smaller than that line size that would be installed on said main. Get it? So in other words, I deal with this. I'm just making this today because probably spent about 2 hours in communication between phone and emails answering this question within the last 10 days maybe. So that's why I want to talk about this. Can you downsize? Do you need all of that water main? Let's first talk about the home. This is a relatively large one. We would believe and establish that there's a whole lot of water used in this house, right? And there's a lot of fixtures, but what about this one here? So which house uses more water, would you think? This one or this one? Which one? Well, probably said this one, but what if it was this one and then just this one guy lived here, right? And let's say he traveled a lot. So maybe he was only here 2 months out of the year. Now, the most water used is probably to refill the swimming pool when the water evaporates, right? So maybe not a lot of water. What about with this one, if instead of just one guy, we had this family and this baby, they got a dog, you got a cat, got a chicken, and you know what? They even have a goat. Now, you also look down here, you see they got a watering can here, so they're doing some outside irrigation, although it looks like they have a rain barrel, so they're doing some reclamation as well and being responsible. All joking aside, that many people in a smaller house would probably use more water. But here's what we're going to get at. What we want to know is how many gallons per minute are going to be coming into the home across the main, regardless of the line size, because that's going to dictate really more volume than pressure. And people are really concerned about pressure when it comes to running their shower heads, for example. There's a typical setup, and yours may or may not look like this, but you have an incoming water line. Here's a water meter, which many times, not necessarily pictured here, but many times this is the first place you'll see a downsize where you may have an 1.5-inch main coming into a home, but the water meter is actually smaller than that. And we have a shut off, and here's the line going to the home. So what is the gallons per minute dictated by that dictates that flow rate, that GPM, gallons per minute, into the home? Is it the size of the home? Is it the number of bathrooms? What about the number of people? Or even the number of fixtures? What is it that is dictating that flow rate? Any ideas there? None of that by itself is what's dictating it. Now, in concert together are some factors there? Absolutely. Let's take a look. I'm trying to simplify a statement so that we can really understand what is dictating that GPM flow rate across that main. It's the number of fixtures opened at the same time and the GPM that each of those fixtures allow to flow through it. That is equal to the GPM, gallons per minute, that's coming through the main into the home. Hopefully that makes sense, and that should resonate, because it doesn't really matter how many people, how many fixtures, just how many are open at the same time and what they allow to flow. So wanted to show you this. This was a peak water demand study that was released in January of this year by IAPMO, International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. And what you'll see is that it was 62 cities, 9 states, and the totals here then, so they had a total of 1,058 homes, 2,865 occupants, and this is what they were able to then analyze based on data that was eliminated. So 1,038 homes over the course of this many cities, 62 cities and 9 states. So what did they find out? Well, excluding leaks, there are pretty much 6 fixtures that are common in most homes, and this was the chart of their percentages on usage on average per day. So, the irony here is you take the leak out of the equation, but 16.6% of usage was attributed to leaks. That ought to tell us something. And take a look around here. This one, clothes, and it's 14.3%. So, high efficiency clothes washers, but maybe people run them a lot, and that takes a lot of the water. This is one that's common. Oh, well, I have a really big bathtub and we like to fill that thing up. Yeah, well, 2.1% of the time, maybe. But I've also seen a lot of giant Whirlpool tubs that sit in the house and probably haven't been used since the initial weekend when they moved in, because most people are showering. You got 17.5% water usage going to shower, and people definitely still are flushing the toilet quite a bit. 21% being the highest. High efficiency dishwasher again, and then the others. This is all inside the house. Talking about inside the house, we're not talking about irrigation. That's a different story. But I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see that the average gallon per capita daily was actually only at 60.1. All estimates I've seen previously are typically between 75 and 100 gallons per day per person. So that's a little bit lower than I'm used to talking about, and we'll use that number later on, so that's why I put it here in red. All right, so here is a list of fixtures and the maximum recommended design flow rate for each of the fixtures, again from the same report. And if you take a look here, again, bathtub 5.5, that's pretty high. Combination bath and shower 5.5. Look at everything else. Water closet with a gravity tank 3. How many people have that? Probably not that many. A bidet, not necessarily a popular water appliance, but some people have them. But here's the things that they do have. Dishwasher, kitchen faucet, actually a 2.2, beating out shower head. So this is one of the things that people are commonly concerned about with this myth. We're going to suffer pressure loss in my shower if I do anything less than that inch, inch and a quarter, even 3/4 inch main that's coming into my home. Well, at 2 GPM and shower heads being designed to basically run at about 35 PSI, that is not a lot of usage. So basically you have to run 2 plus or 3 showers to even overcome what should be allowable for a bathtub. Give you an idea, so how many of these in your home are open at the same time? A lot with great frequency. This will dictate the GPM over the main, which has a lot to do with sizing for our technology. That's why I keep coming back to this. So you think about it, doesn't matter if there's 20 fixtures in the house and 6 people. Now, if 3 people are showering at the same time, all the time because of schedules, yeah, then you know what? You're actually breaking 6 gallons per minute, which is nothing, because that 1.5-inch main would allow for a lot more than that. And even our 1/2-inch unit allows for up to 10 gallons per minute. So let's just be clear about that. These are lower flow. Most things are low flow fixtures. And again, most of the water is used inside the home is going to be between that 1 and 4 gallon per minute range. You can see that, right? So let's do some estimating, because I actually make this little spreadsheet, and you can see I have different formats of businesses based on what dictates the difference here is really when they use the water. So I use this one for residential to show people and say, okay, let's take that example of 60 gallons per day per person, and let's just build one up. Sometimes people have their water bills and we can put the number in here, but let's say we want to take a monthly total based on those averages that IAPMO released. So we'll even go big. We'll call it 61 gallons per day times 6 people times 30. What are we going to have? Almost 11,000 gallons a month, 366 gallons per day on average. And I just wanted to show you with great calculations here how low the average flow is then based on that. And we looked at the fixtures. We know that when you turn them on, for example, you turn a bathtub on for that time, it's going to be flowing at 5 gallons per minute. But if you average it out a little bit, and here I'm saying that during the course of the day, 35% of the water used in the house was between the hours of 6 and 9 a.m. So if we put all that volume through between 6 and 9, you're still not on average breaking 0.7, not peak, but on average. That's how this is calculating. And then over the course of the day, look at your min, max, and average based on 10,000 gallons. Now, are there going to be peak times? Maybe more people are home on the weekends or evenings. We could adjust these percentages, but this is on average how I think people use water in their home. So between midnight and 6 a.m. on average, they're not really probably using a whole lot of water. That's what that means. Now, over here, these are our sizes and optimum flow rates. So what do you think I'm going to say? Now, I really would be chastised and really wouldn't go to 3/8 inch on a main, because almost never would that be something I'd say. We actually use that for RVs and things like that. But a 1/2 inch unit, optimum flow is between 1 and about 5.9 or 6 with a max of 10. So, gee, wouldn't that fit in well? So look at down here. This is what happens with this volume if you were to run it all in 1 hour. So if I was using 366 gallons on a daily basis and I did all that in 1 hour, then I would then average 6.1 gallons per minute. That is not that high, is it? What happens if we had a lot more than this? So recently, really only one time in the last 3 years now have I suggested that we're going to upsize and go all the way up to 3/4 inch unit. I had water bills that said they use 39,000 gallons of water a month. We were doing irrigation too outside of the house. So what does that look like? Well, that's 1,300 gallons a day. That's quite a bit more. But again, look at the numbers. They're not doing it all in 1 hour. They're probably doing it in the course of 3 to 4 hours a day when you look at those numbers. So 5 to 7 GPM. And if they're following this kind of a schedule between the hours of 6 and 9, they're doing 35% of that volume. It's only 2.5 gallons per minute. What I'm trying to do is show people that what's used inside the home as you're turning faucets on and off and running a dishwasher is very little flow when it comes to gallons per minute. And most homes have adequate pressure from a city line, for example, that many times they need pressure regulation valves where they're lowering the pressure so it doesn't basically cause other problems and blow apart fittings and fixtures. So there's some real world calculations for you. So let's go back over here. So yes, your home only needs a 1/2 inch unit. Why do I say that? Because unless you are on average getting over 6 gallons per minute to hit this optimum flow rate, you're going to be under treating your water because you're going to fall down in this range here. This is our #1 reason for any kind of a callback. We have less than a 1% return rate, but when we see it come back, people are saying, it's not working for me. Then we do a little bit of investigating. Well, what size did you put in there? Well, a 3/4 inch, because I have an 1.5 inch line coming into my house, or I have a 1 inch, or I have a 3/4 inch. I match line size. Well, based on what I've just showed you on how people actually use water inside the house and the possibilities that are really allowed based on fixture count and dictating, they're not getting enough flow to hit this. That's just the bottom line. So the optimum flow rate for a 1/2 inch, 1 to 5.9, 1 to 6, which is perfect for turning those fixtures on and off, running a dishwasher, 3 showers running at the same time, plus a fixture. Does going over 6 hurt anything? No, because look, you can get all the way up to about 10. I've actually done studies and videos on there that show 10 gallons per minute going through a 1/2 inch unit. So yes, your home only needs a 1/2 inch unit. And I want to share this with all the folks that are reselling and folks that are looking at using us in their home. So hopefully this is very, very clear that that myth that we talked about in the beginning, that you cannot downsize that main, whether it's 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 1.25 inch, 3/4, you could never downsize that because everybody's going to suffer. The fish are going to dehydrate and the pets are going to pack up and leave, whatever. That myth is busted. All right, you can certainly do that based on the reality of how you're using water in the home. For more information, hit our website at scalepreventionusa.com or shoot an email to us. We are happy to field any and all questions. However, if it's still unclear in your mind about what line size you need or what size unit you need based on your line size, I'd ask you to watch this again. Hey, thanks very much. This is Eric with Fluid Dynamics, and I hope this was helpful.